The afternoon sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my parents' mansion as the family gathered for their annual summer barbecue. While my sister Victoria lounged by the pool in her designer swimwear, I sat quietly in the corner, laptop open, reviewing the final architectural plans for what would soon become the city's tallest building. "Emma, darling, do close that computer," my mother called out. "It's a party, not a coffee shop." I smiled, knowing that tomorrow's groundbreaking ceremony would change everything. But for now, I played my part, dressed in simple jeans and a white blouse that Victoria had already criticized as outlet mall chic. "Still working on those little building designs?" Victoria smirked, adjusting her Gucci sunglasses. How cute. If only she knew those little designs were revolutionizing sustainable architecture across 3 continents. My firm, quietly built over the last decade, had become the most innovative force in green engineering. Speaking of buildings, my father interjected, settling into his favorite lounger. Victoria just closed on her 3rd vacation home. Aspen this time, wasn't it? Victoria beamed. 4 bedrooms, private ski lift access. Michael's bonus was particularly generous this year. Meanwhile, my mother sighed, giving me that familiar look of disappointment. "Emma still rents that tiny apartment downtown." I took a sip of water, thinking about the penthouse I actually lived in, when I wasn't traveling between our global offices. "The apartment suits me fine." "Suits you fine because it's all you can afford," Victoria laughed. "The poor sister can't even buy a house. Remember when she turned down that partnership at Dad's firm to start her own company?" My phone buzzed, another message from my project director. "Final permits approved. Press embargo lifts at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Forbes exclusive ready to go." "I just want what's best for you," my mother added, patting my hand condescendingly. "There's still time to join your father's development firm. A proper job with a proper salary." If they only knew that my little company had quietly acquired Dad's firm 6 months ago. "The market's really hot right now," Victoria continued. "Even on your modest income, you could at least afford a small condo. Michael knows a mortgage broker who handles lower-income applications." Another message lit up my phone. "Mayor's office confirmed for tomorrow's ceremony. All news networks scheduled for live coverage." "What's this project you're always working on anyway?" my father asked, frowning at my laptop. Before I could answer, Victoria interrupted. "Probably some tiny renovation. That's all she can get with her reputation." The irony of her words made me smile. In less than 24 hours, my reputation would be front-page news. My phone buzzed again. "Tower's final specs confirmed, 128 stories, making it the city's tallest structure. Your name will be visible from 3 states. Actually," my father set down his drink, "I heard rumors about a major new development downtown. Something about a revolutionary green tower? My firm lost the bid to some mysterious new company." I kept my expression neutral, though inside I was smiling. That mysterious company was my own, operating under one of our subsidiary names. "Speaking of development," Victoria chimed in, "did you all see the article about the new female billionaire architect? No one knows who she is, but apparently she's revolutionizing sustainable design." "Must be nice," my mother sighed, looking at me pointedly. "Some women actually make something of themselves." The catering staff, secretly hired from my own 5-star hotel, began serving lunch. Victoria made a show of offering to pay for my meal, since times must be tough. My phone lit up again. This time from my legal team. "Share transfer complete. You now own 60% of downtown real estate. Tower announcement will make you the largest property owner in the city." "Emma dear," my mother leaned in, voice dripping with concern, "I saw you taking the bus again. We can help you with a car down payment." "The bus is fine, Mom." "It's embarrassing," Victoria declared. "A Marshall family member on public transport? Thank God none of my friends have seen you." Dad pulled out the morning paper, frowning at the business section. "Says here this mystery architect is unveiling something big tomorrow. Supposedly will change the city skyline forever." "Must be nice to have that kind of success," Victoria smirked. "Unlike some people who can barely afford rent." Just then my project director's message came through. "Final inspection passed. Walker Tower is ready for tomorrow's revelation. All 128 floors of sustainable innovation. Shall we proceed with the name unveiling? I typed back quickly, proceed as planned. At least tell us what you're working on, my mother pressed. Some small office renovation? You could say I'm aiming high, I replied cryptically. How high can you aim from a rented apartment? Victoria laughed. The poor sister can't even buy a house, let alone build anything significant. The afternoon sun caught the edge of my laptop screen, where the final renders of Walker Tower were displayed. Its revolutionary design would redefine sustainable architecture globally. Tomorrow my family would learn that the poor sister had built not just a tower but an empire. My father's phone buzzed with a news alert. His eyes widened slightly as he read the preview of tomorrow's headline. He looked up at me, confusion crossing his face. I closed my laptop, smiled and said, "Anyone want to join me for breakfast downtown tomorrow? Say around 9 a.m.? I have something interesting to show you." The next morning dawned clear and bright, perfect weather for a groundbreaking ceremony. I stood in my actual office, the entire 50th floor of one of my existing buildings, watching news helicopters circle the construction site where Walker Tower would soon rise. At precisely 8:55 a.m., my family arrived in the lobby, looking confused and slightly irritated at being summoned downtown so early. "Emma, darling," my mother started as they were escorted up by my private security team, "what is all this about? And why are there so many news vans outside?" Before I could answer, they stepped into my office and their jaws collectively dropped. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, my city, though they didn't know it yet. Digital screens covered the walls, displaying real-time updates from construction sites worldwide. What is this place?" Victoria stammered, her designer handbag clutched tightly. "My office," I said simply, checking my watch. "Well, one of them." Dad's phone buzzed. Then Mom's. Then Victoria's. The embargo had lifted and the news was breaking. Breaking news. Mystery architect revealed, Emma Walker Marshall to build world's most sustainable skyscraper. My father's hands shook as he read aloud. Emma Marshall, CEO of Walker Sustainable Developments, announces groundbreaking of Walker Tower, set to become the city's tallest and most innovative building. Estimated value, $4.2 billion. Victoria grabbed his phone, face paling. Walker Sustainable Developments, annual revenue exceeding $12 billion. Projects across 5 continents. Revolutionary green technology. Those little building designs, I smiled, pressing a button that transformed one wall into a massive display of my global projects. They've been quite successful. My mother sank into a leather chair. But you take the bus. I believe in sustainable transport, I replied. Also, I own the transit company. A helicopter appeared outside the windows, my helicopter, with the Walker Developments logo gleaming in the morning sun. That small apartment, Victoria whispered, is the penthouse of a building I own, I completed. Actually, I own most of downtown now. Including Dad's firm. Surprise, you've been working for me for the past 6 months. My father's face went white. The mysterious buyer. That was you? Ms. Marshall, my assistant entered. The mayor and press are ready for the ceremony. The screen switched to live news coverage. Reporters stood before the massive construction site, where a covered scale model waited to be revealed. That's not all, I continued, pulling up the architectural plans. Walker Tower will be the world's first truly self-sustaining skyscraper. Zero carbon footprint, revolutionary solar technology, vertical gardens on every 3rd floor. It's already fully leased. There's a waiting list of Fortune 500 companies. Victoria stared at the plans, then at her own office building visible through the windows. Is that why my company's rent tripled last month? Actually, I own that building too, I smiled. Don't worry, family discount. The weeks following the Walker Tower announcement transformed my family's perception completely. Gone were the condescending comments about my little company and pitying looks about my lifestyle choices. Now, at our regular Sunday family dinners, hosted in my actual penthouse with its rooftop garden and helipad, they sat in stunned silence as global leaders and business titans called for video conferences. President of Singapore on line 1, my assistant announced during dessert. Regarding the Marina Bay project. My mother nearly dropped her spoon. The president. Tell him I'll call back, I replied, sipping my tea. Family time. Victoria, who had spent years flaunting her vacation homes, now fidgeted uncomfortably in her seat. The Forbes article listing my net worth at $18.2 billion had effectively ended her bragging rights. Emma, my father cleared his throat, about the firm's new sustainable initiative. Already approved, I cut in. My board, greenlit the $100 million renovation last week. We're converting all properties to zero-emission standards. My mother, still struggling to process reality, gestured at my simple black turtleneck. But darling, you could afford any designer. Mom, I smiled, I don't wear designer labels because I own the manufacturing facilities that make them. The skyline visible through the windows was already changing. Walker Tower's innovative design had sparked a global conversation about sustainable architecture. My inbox overflowed with partnership requests from governments and corporations worldwide. Ms. Marshall, my assistant, reappeared. The royal family's office confirmed next month's consultation for their net-zero palace renovation. Victoria choked on her wine. The royal family. Just a small project, I said, remembering her words about my tiny renovations. Though the Queen's quite passionate about sustainable design. My father, examining the scale model of Walker Tower displayed in my living room, shook his head in disbelief. All those years while you thought I was struggling? I finished. I was building something meaningful. Something that will actually change the world. The evening news played silently on one wall, coverage of Walker Tower's construction progress. The reporter stood before the massive site, discussing how the building would revolutionize urban development. But why didn't you tell us? My mother asked softly. Would you have understood? I replied. When I started, you were all so focused on appearances, on status. I wanted to create actual value, not just project success. My phone lit up with another message. Tokyo government approved Walker District proposal. 200-acre sustainable city development. The funny thing is, I continued, watching the sunset paint the city in golden hues, success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Victoria stared at her reflection in the window, her designer outfit suddenly seeming insignificant against the backdrop of my empire. All those times I mocked you taught me patience, I completed. And the value of underestimation. As my family prepared to leave, still processing their new reality, my father paused at the door. Emma, we're sorry. Don't be, I said, turning to watch a crane lift materials to the growing heights of Walker Tower. Everything worked out exactly as planned. The next morning's headlines would announce Walker Development's expansion into sustainable city planning. My little company was about to reshape not just skylines, but entire urban landscapes. Sometimes success speaks louder than words. And my tower, rising floor by floor into the clouds, was just the beginning of my story.